The salvage yard stretched for kilometers across the barren surface of Kepler 442c, a graveyard of alien technology that spanned 3 centuries. Rust-colored dust swirled between towering heaps of corroded metal, broken spacecraft, and war machines from a dozen different species. Most scavengers avoided this particular section, the Forbidden Zone, they called it. The locals whispered stories about cursed weapons and AI ghosts that drove men mad. Marcus Chen didn't believe in ghosts, but he respected dangerous technology. The human engineer adjusted his environmental suit and checked his scanner readings for the 3rd time. His weathered hands, scarred from years of tinkering with alien tech, gripped the device tightly as it chirped softly in the thin atmosphere. "There," he muttered, watching the energy signature pulse on his screen. Something still got power after all these years. Marcus had been working the Outer Rim salvage circuits for 15 years, ever since the Terran Federation had exiled him for unauthorized technological experimentation. They called it reckless. He called it progress. Out here, beyond the reach of bureaucrats and safety committees, he could pursue his real passion, understanding how alien minds built their machines. The scanner led him deeper into the graveyard, past the skeletal remains of Vorthan battlecruisers and the melted husks of Zentari assault mechs. The energy reading grew stronger with each step, until finally, Marcus found himself standing before something extraordinary. It was massive, easily 30 meters from nose to tail. The creature's form was unmistakably feline, but constructed from a seamless blend of organic tissue and advanced technology. Synthetic muscle fibers wrapped around a titanium carbide skeleton, while biomechanical organs pulsed faintly beneath armored skin. 2 enormous saber teeth, each the length of a man, jutted from its upper jaw. They gleamed with an inner light, suggesting some kind of energy channeling capability. "Holy hell," Marcus whispered, his breath fogging the inside of his helmet visor. A Catherian warcat. He'd heard stories about these legendary creatures, but most scholars believed they were myths. The Catherian Empire had vanished 3,000 years ago, leaving behind only ruins and fragments of their biotechnological marvels. According to legend, they had created living weapons, creatures that blended flesh and machine in ways that defied understanding. Marcus circled the dormant war machine, his scanner picking up incredibly complex energy patterns. The creature's skin shifted color slightly as he moved, like a chameleon responding to its environment. Even in its dormant state, the warcat was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. "Your builders knew what they were doing," Marcus said softly, running his hand along the creature's flank. The synthetic skin felt warm to the touch, and he could feel the subtle vibration of hibernating systems beneath the surface. "But why are you still powered? What's keeping you alive after all this time?" The engineer in him couldn't resist the puzzle. Marcus pulled out his portable workstation and began running detailed scans of the creature's biomechanical systems. What he found defied everything he thought he knew about alien technology. The warcat wasn't just a machine piloted by organic components, it was truly alive. Its brain was a hybrid of quantum processors and neural tissue, capable of learning and adapting. Its organs were self-repairing biofactories that could manufacture ammunition, repair damaged systems, and even upgrade its own capabilities. Most remarkably, it possessed something Marcus had never seen before, a soul matrix. "Impossible," he breathed, staring at the readouts. "You're not just alive, you're conscious." The discovery sent chills down his spine. The Catherians hadn't just built a weapon, they had created artificial life. The soul matrix was a quantum construct that housed the creature's personality, memories, and individual consciousness. It was the technological equivalent of a soul, and it was still active after 3 millennia. Marcus spent the next 6 hours studying the warcat's systems, mapping its neural pathways and understanding its hybrid physiology. The creature's power source was unlike anything he'd ever encountered, a biofusion reactor that converted organic matter directly into energy. It could theoretically run forever, as long as it had access to food. But the most intriguing discovery came when Marcus accessed the creature's memory banks. The warcat had a name, Shadowfang. It had served in the final battles of the Catherian Empire, fighting against an enemy called the Devourers, a machine intelligence that consumed entire star systems. The final memory fragment showed Shadowfang receiving its last orders, to hibernate until awakened by someone worthy of the Catherian legacy. The creature had been waiting for 3,000 years for that moment. Marcus felt a strange connection to the sleeping giant. Both of them were outcasts, abandoned by their respective civilizations. Both were passionate about pushing the boundaries of what was possible. As he worked, Marcus began talking to the dormant creature, sharing his own story of exile and dreams of technological advancement. "You know what it's like, don't you?" he said, carefully adjusting a biomechanical sensor array. "To be too advanced for your own people, too dangerous, too different." The Warcat's systems hummed softly in response, and Marcus could swear he felt something like understanding emanating from the creature's hibernating consciousness. As the twin suns of the Kepler system began to set, casting long shadows across the salvage yard, Marcus made his decision. He couldn't leave Shadowfang here to waste away in the graveyard. The creature deserved better than to be picked apart by scavengers or seized by government agents. Marcus began the delicate process of awakening the Warcat. He routed power to the creature's higher brain functions first, watching as neural pathways that had been dormant for millennia began to flicker back to life. The process was incredibly complex. He had to synchronize dozens of biomechanical systems while ensuring that the creature's consciousness could properly integrate with its physical form. Hours passed as Marcus worked with the precision of a surgeon and the passion of an artist. Gradually, Shadowfang's vital signs strengthened. Its synthetic muscles began to twitch as motor functions came online. The saber-teeth started to glow with increasing intensity as the creature's weapons systems activated. Finally, Marcus stepped back as the Warcat's eyes opened for the first time in 3,000 years. They were magnificent golden orbs that seemed to contain swirling galaxies. Ancient intelligence looked out from those eyes, along with something else that Marcus hadn't expected: gratitude. Shadowfang raised its massive head slowly, muscles rippling beneath armored skin as it tested its motor functions. When it spoke, its voice was a low rumble that seemed to resonate in Marcus's chest, transmitted directly through his suit's communication system. "I remember you," the Warcat said, its words carrying the weight of ages. "You were in my dreams while I slept." The lonely engineer who speaks to machines as friends. Marcus felt tears welling up in his eyes. After years of working alone, he had finally found a kindred spirit, even if that spirit happened to be a 3,000-year-old biomechanical war machine. "Welcome back, Shadowfang," Marcus whispered. "You've been asleep for a long time." The Warcat's gaze sharpened as it accessed its memory banks and compared them with current sensor data. 3,217 years, 4 months, and 16 days, it said precisely. "The stars have shifted. My creators are dust. And you are not Catherian." "No," Marcus admitted. "I'm human. My people are relatively new to this galaxy. We've been spacefaring for less than 500 years. Shadowfang studied him with those ancient eyes, processing this information with quantum speed. "Yet you understood my systems well enough to awaken me. Remarkable. What became of the Devourers? Did we win the war?" Marcus felt his heart sink. He pulled up historical records on his workstation and showed them to the Warcat. "I'm sorry, Shadowfang. Your people fought bravely. But the Catherian Empire fell. The Devourers consumed most of your worlds before moving on to other sectors of the galaxy." The great creature was silent for a long moment, processing this devastating news. When it spoke again, its voice carried the weight of tremendous sorrow. "Then I failed in my purpose. I was created to protect the Empire, and I slept while it died." "No," Marcus said firmly. "You followed your orders. You waited for someone worthy to awaken you. Maybe that's me. Maybe we can finish what your people started." Shadowfang's eyes blazed brighter. "What do you mean, human engineer?" Marcus pulled up star charts showing recent military intelligence reports. "The Devourers are back. 3 months ago, they attacked the Proxima colony. 2 weeks later, they hit the Vorthan trade hub at Regulus Prime. They're moving through this sector systematically, just like they did to your people." The Warcat's weapon systems came online with a low hum, and Marcus could feel the creature's battle instincts awakening after their long slumber. "Then my purpose remains unfulfilled. I was created to fight the Devourers, and they still threaten innocent lives. My government won't listen to warnings about ancient threats," Marcus continued. "They think the Devourers are just another pirate fleet. They don't understand what we're really facing." Shadowfang rose to its full height, 30 meters of deadly biomechanical perfection. Its saber-teeth crackled with energy as dormant weapon systems fully activated. Then we must make them understand. You awakened me, Marcus Chen. By Catherian law, that makes you my bonded partner. Together, we will face the Devourers as my creators intended. Marcus felt a strange sensation as Shadowfang spoke, a tingling in his mind that suggested some kind of neural link was forming between them. The Warcat's advanced systems were synchronizing with his brainwaves, creating a partnership unlike anything in human history. Are you sure about this? Marcus asked, though he already knew his answer. The authorities will call us criminals. We'll be hunted by both sides. The great cat's purr was like controlled thunder. I have slept for 3 millennia waiting for this moment. A Kytherian warcat does not fear the judgment of lesser species. We have a war to win, my friend. As the last light of day faded across the salvage yard, Marcus climbed onto Shadowfang's back, settling into a biomechanical interface that had been designed for the creature's Kytherian handlers. The moment he made contact with the neural interface, Marcus felt his consciousness expand dramatically. Through Shadowfang's senses, he could perceive electromagnetic spectra far beyond human vision. He could feel the gravitational pull of distant planets and sense the quantum fluctuations of nearby technology. Most remarkably, he could feel the Warcat's emotions, ancient determination mixed with newfound hope. Where do we begin? Marcus asked, marveling at their shared consciousness. Shadowfang's sensors swept the horizon, already tracking the energy signatures of approaching ships. It appears the choice has been made for us. I detect 3 Federation patrol vessels approaching our position. Someone reported our awakening. Marcus felt his heart race as he recognized the signatures on his scanner. Those are military ships. They'll want to capture you for study. Let them try, Shadowfang rumbled, its massive form coiling like a spring ready to unleash. It has been far too long since I've had a proper hunt. Besides, we need a ship if we're going to reach the front lines of this new war. The Warcat's stealth systems activated, bending light around its massive form as it became nearly invisible to conventional sensors. Marcus felt the creature's predatory instincts merge with his own tactical knowledge as they prepared to face their first challenge together. Above them, the Federation ships began their descent, unaware that they were about to encounter a legend brought back to life. Marcus smiled grimly as he felt Shadowfang's anticipation through their neural link. The galaxy was about to discover that humans and Kytherians had more in common than anyone had realized, including a shared talent for turning impossible odds into victory. The real war was about to begin. The Federation patrol ships descended through the atmosphere like metallic hawks, their searchlights cutting through the evening gloom as they swept the salvage yard. Commander Sarah Reeves sat in the lead vessel's command chair, studying the readings from their long-range sensors with growing unease. "Are you certain about these energy signatures, Lieutenant?" she asked her science officer. "Absolutely, ma'am. Something big just came online down there. The power readings are off the charts, easily equivalent to a dreadnought-class vessel. But there's no ship on visual." Reeves frowned. She'd been tracking the rogue engineer Marcus Chen for months, ever since intelligence reports suggested he might be developing illegal weapons technology. Chen had been expelled from the Federation Science Council for unsanctioned experiments, but his brilliance was undeniable. If he'd managed to build something this powerful in exile, it could shift the balance of power in the sector. "Take us down carefully," she ordered. "Full defensive posture. If Chen has built some kind of superweapon, I want to be ready for anything." Below them, hidden beneath Shadowfang's active camouflage, Marcus felt the Warcat's amusement through their neural link. The ancient creature found the approaching ships almost quaint compared to the massive devourer fleets it had once faced. "They move like prey animals," Shadowfang observed through their mental connection. "Cautious, but predictable." Shall I demonstrate why stealth was such a valued trait among Catherian warcats? Marcus considered their options. A direct confrontation would likely result in casualties, and despite his exile, he had no desire to harm fellow humans. But they needed to escape, and they needed a ship capable of reaching the front lines where the Devourers were striking. "Can you disable their vessels without killing the crews?" Marcus asked. "Child's play," Shadowfang purred. "My people perfected non-lethal capture techniques long before your species discovered fire. Watch and learn, my bonded partner." The Warcat moved with fluid grace that defied its massive size, flowing between the wreckage like liquid shadow. Its biomechanical systems had been designed for stealth operations, and even Marcus was amazed at how something so large could move so silently. Shadowfang positioned itself beneath the largest Federation ship as it hovered over a clearing in the salvage yard. The creature's saber-teeth began to glow with a different frequency than Marcus had seen before, not the blue-white of weapons charge, but a deep purple that seemed to pulse with hypnotic rhythm. Neural disruptor field, Shadowfang explained as the energy built. It will temporarily interfere with their higher brain functions, making them compliant and confused. They'll remember this as a strange dream, nothing more. The Warcat released the pulse in a focused beam that penetrated the ship's hull without causing any physical damage. Within seconds, Marcus heard the confusion in the radio chatter between the vessels. "Command, this is Patrol 2. We're experiencing some kind of equipment malfunction. Navigation systems are..." "Wait, what were we doing here again?" Patrol 3 to Command. "I'm having trouble remembering our mission parameters. Are we supposed to be investigating something?" Commander Reeves felt a strange fog settling over her thoughts. She knew they had come to this planet for something important, but the details seemed to slip away every time she tried to focus on them. Her crew was reporting similar symptoms, not illness, exactly, but a peculiar mental confusion that made complex thinking difficult. "Medical emergency," she announced, though the words felt strangely distant. "Set course for the nearest medical station. We need to get checked for whatever this is." As the Federation ships departed in confusion, Shadowfang dropped its camouflage and padded over to where Marcus's salvage hauler was parked. The small ship looked pathetically inadequate compared to the magnificent Warcat, but it would serve their immediate needs. "Impressive," Marcus said as he climbed down from Shadowfang's back. "But we can't keep using that neural disruptor. Word will eventually get out about strange memory losses around this area." "Agreed. We need to reach the battle zones quickly, before the Devourers can establish a stronger foothold in this sector. Your ship will suffice for now, but we'll need something more substantial for the real fighting." Marcus spent the next hour modifying his hauler's cargo bay to accommodate Shadowfang. The Warcat could compress its form significantly when necessary, a ability that had allowed Catherian forces to deploy them in unexpected locations during their ancient war. As they prepared to depart, Marcus reviewed everything they knew about recent Devourer attacks. The pattern was becoming clear. They were targeting industrial worlds and research facilities, focusing on locations with advanced technology or large populations. It was the same strategy they had used against the Catherian Empire 3 millennia ago. They're not just conquering, Marcus realized as he plotted their course. They're learning. Each world they consume teaches them more about current galactic technology and tactics. The Devourers are the ultimate adaptive enemy, Shadowfang confirmed. They don't simply destroy, they absorb, analyze, and improve. That's why they were so difficult for my people to defeat. Every victory we achieved taught them how to counter our strategies. Their first destination was the ruins of Proxima Colony, where the Devourers had made their most recent attack. If Marcus could analyze the aftermath, he might be able to understand how the enemy had evolved over the centuries. The journey through hyperspace gave Marcus time to study Shadowfang's capabilities more thoroughly. The Warcat was essentially a living starship in biological form. Its fusion-powered organs could sustain it indefinitely. Its adaptive armor could reconfigure itself to counter different weapon types, and its consciousness could process tactical information faster than any computer. Most remarkably, Shadowfang possessed something called quantum intuition, an ability to predict probable outcomes based on vast computational analysis combined with instinctive understanding. It was this ability that had made Catherian Warcats so effective against the Devourers' adaptive strategies. "Your people created something remarkable," Marcus said as they emerged from hyperspace near Proxima Colony. "We created ourselves," Shadowfang corrected. "The original Kytherians discovered how to upload their consciousness into biomechanical bodies, achieving a form of technological immortality. I am not just a weapon built by the Catherians, I am a Catherian." The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. He wasn't just partnered with an ancient war machine, he was working alongside one of the last survivors of an extinct civilization. The responsibility was staggering. Proxima Colony hung before them like a broken jewel against the stars. The planet's surface was scarred with massive geometric patterns where the Devourers had systematically stripped away resources. But it wasn't random destruction, there was a terrible intelligence behind the devastation. "They've improved their efficiency," Shadowfang observed as they entered orbit. In my time, devourer operations were more crude. This level of precise resource extraction suggests significant technological advancement. Marcus piloted them down to the planet's surface, following the energy readings to what had once been the colony's central research facility. The building was gone, replaced by a perfectly circular crater that descended deep into the planet's crust. Strange crystalline structures grew around the crater's edges, some kind of devourer technology that Marcus had never seen before. Harvesting nodes, Shadowfang explained as they approached on foot. They're designed to continue resource extraction even after the main devourer force has moved on. This is new. In my era, they only took what they could carry. The crystals pulsed with an alien light, and Marcus's instruments detected energy patterns that hurt his head to contemplate. The mathematics involved were beyond human understanding, operating on principles that seemed to violate known physics. Don't touch them directly, Shadowfang warned. Devourer technology is designed to absorb and analyze any foreign matter it encounters. That includes organic tissue. As they studied the harvesting nodes, Marcus began to understand the true scope of the threat they faced. The Devourers weren't just a military force, they were a civilization-ending plague that consumed everything in their path and grew stronger with each conquest. How did your people fight something like this? Marcus asked, feeling overwhelmed by the enemy's capabilities. With great difficulty and tremendous sacrifice, Shadowfang replied. But we had advantages that current galactic civilizations lack. We understood adaptation as both a strength and a weakness. The Devourer's ability to learn and evolve also makes them predictable to those who know how to read the patterns. The Warcat's sensors detected something moving in the depths of the crater, mechanical shapes that glowed with the same alien light as the harvesting nodes. The Devourers had left behind more than just automated extractors. Sentries, Shadowfang identified, guardian constructs designed to protect the harvesting operation. They'll be transmitting data back to the main Devourer fleet, reporting on local defensive capabilities and technological levels. Marcus felt a cold certainty settle in his gut. They're not just harvesting resources, they're gathering intelligence for their next attack. Precisely. Which means we have an opportunity. If we can capture one of those sentries and analyze its databanks, we might be able to determine where the Devourers plan to strike next. The plan was risky but necessary. Shadowfang descended into the crater with Marcus riding on its back, both of them protected by the Warcat's adaptive shielding. The sentries detected their approach immediately, sleek, spider-like constructs that moved with mechanical precision as they converged on the intruders. Marcus had expected a fierce battle, but Shadowfang's approach was far more elegant. The Warcat used its quantum intuition to predict the sentries' movement patterns, dodging their energy beams while simultaneously analyzing their construction principles. Within minutes, Shadowfang had identified weaknesses in their design vulnerabilities that could be exploited without destroying the valuable data they contained. The Devourers have grown overconfident, Shadowfang observed as it disabled the first sentry with surgical precision. Their technology is more advanced than in my era, but they've sacrificed adaptability for raw power. They assume their current level of superiority will be sufficient against all opposition. The captured sentry contained a wealth of information about Devourer operations. Their next target was the industrial world of New Geneva, home to the Federation's most advanced shipyards. The attack was planned for less than 48 hours from now. We have to warn them, Marcus said. But even as he spoke, he knew the challenge they faced. But who's going to believe an exiled engineer and his ancient alien companion? Then we don't ask for belief, Shadowfang replied, its eyes blazing with the fire of ancient determination. We demonstrate our credibility through action. If the Federation fleet at New Geneva is about to face the Devourers, they'll need every advantage they can get. The Warcat's biomechanical organs began working at increased capacity, manufacturing specialized ammunition, and preparing advanced weapon systems that hadn't been used in 3,000 years. Marcus felt Shadowfang's battle readiness through their neural link, and found himself filled with a confidence he'd never experienced before. You think we can make a difference against an entire Devourer fleet? Marcus asked. I know we can, Shadowfang replied. The Devourers have forgotten the most important lesson from our ancient war. They defeated the Catherian Empire, but they never defeated a Catherian Warcat, and now they face something they've never encountered before, a Warcat bonded with human ingenuity. As they raced toward New Geneva, Marcus began to understand the true significance of their partnership. Humans brought something unique to the galactic community: unpredictability, creativity, and a refusal to accept impossible odds. Combined with Shadowfang's ancient wisdom and advanced technology, they represented something the Devourers couldn't easily counter. The enemy's greatest strength was their ability to adapt and learn from their victories. But Marcus and Shadowfang were about to give them something they'd never faced before, a defeat so unexpected that it would force them to reconsider everything they thought they knew about the current galactic civilization. New Geneva appeared ahead of them, its orbital shipyards glinting in the light of the system's star. The Federation's Third Fleet was stationed there, 50 capital ships representing the pinnacle of human military technology. It should have been more than enough to defend against any normal threat, but as Marcus and Shadowfang approached the system, their long-range sensors detected something that made Marcus's blood run cold. The Devourers were already here, hidden in the system's outer asteroid belt, preparing for an attack that would catch the Federation fleet completely off guard. "We're too late to prevent the attack," Marcus realized. "No," Shadowfang corrected, its voice filled with the confidence of a predator that had finally found worthy prey. "We're perfectly positioned to turn their ambush into our opportunity." The Devourers are about to learn why the galaxy should never underestimate the alliance between human determination and Catherian fury. Admiral Catherine Voss stood on the bridge of the Federation flagship Indomitable, reviewing the morning's patrol reports with practiced efficiency. The Third Fleet's presence at New Geneva was primarily ceremonial, a show of strength during the system's annual industrial exposition. The latest intelligence suggested that Devourer forces were still weeks away from this sector. She was wrong. In the asteroid belt beyond the system's edge, 43 Devourer vessels hung in perfect geometric formation, their crystalline hulls reflecting starlight like predatory insects waiting to strike. Each ship was a masterwork of adaptive technology, capable of reshaping itself mid-battle to counter enemy tactics. The largest vessel, a command ship the size of a small moon, pulsed with the collected knowledge of 1,000 conquered civilizations. Marcus Chen felt sweat beading on his forehead as he studied the tactical display through Shadowfang's enhanced sensors. The Warcat had concealed their salvage hauler in a debris field near the asteroid belt, close enough to observe the Devourer fleet without being detected. 43 ships, Marcus whispered. The Federation fleet won't stand a chance against those numbers. Numbers are irrelevant, Shadowfang replied through their neural link. The Devourers never rely on superior force alone. Observe their formation pattern. It's designed for maximum learning efficiency. They'll engage the human fleet in waves, allowing each group to adapt based on the performance of the previous attackers. Marcus watched in horror as the implications became clear. The Devourers weren't just planning to destroy the Federation fleet, they intended to use the battle as a testing ground for human military capabilities. Every weapon fired, every tactical maneuver, every defensive strategy would be analyzed and countered in real time. It's a trap within a trap, Marcus realized. They let intelligence reports leak about their timetable, making the Federation think they had weeks to prepare. Now they'll catch our forces completely off guard. Standard Devourer strategy, Shadowfang confirmed. They used the same approach against my people. The question is, how do we turn their own tactics against them? The Warcat's quantum intuition was already processing thousands of variables, calculating probability matrices that human minds couldn't comprehend. Slowly, a plan began to take shape, audacious, dangerous, and utterly unexpected. "We don't try to defeat their entire fleet," Shadowfang explained. "We target their command vessel. The Devourers coordinate their adaptive responses through a central intelligence node. If we can disrupt that coordination, their individual ships will be forced to rely on local processing power, making them vulnerable to human unpredictability." Marcus felt his heart racing as he understood what Shadowfang was proposing. "You want to attack a moon-sized ship with just us? Not attack, infiltrate. My biomechanical nature will allow us to penetrate their hull without triggering standard defensive responses. Once inside, we can introduce a virus into their command network, not a digital virus, but something far more dangerous. We'll give them human chaos." The plan was insane, but Marcus found himself grinning as he considered the possibilities. Human creativity combined with Kytherian technology could indeed produce something the Devourers had never encountered before. As they began their approach toward the command vessel, the Devourer fleet initiated its attack on New Geneva. The first wave consisted of 12 ships that moved with mechanical precision toward the unsuspecting Federation fleet. Admiral Voss was reviewing supply manifests when her tactical officer suddenly straightened in his chair. "Admiral, I'm detecting multiple contacts emerging from the asteroid belt. Configuration unknown. But they're moving fast." "Red alert," Voss ordered, though she felt a sinking sensation in her stomach. The contacts were nothing like the sleek designs favored by known alien races. These ships were crystalline, angular, and somehow wrong to look at. "All ships to battle stations. Transmit a priority alert to Fleet Command. We may have encountered the Devourers." The first exchange of fire revealed the true horror of what they faced. Federation plasma cannons and photon torpedoes struck the Devourer vessels with perfect accuracy, but the enemy ships simply absorbed the energy and adapted their hull configurations to deflect subsequent attacks. Within minutes, weapons that should have crippled the alien vessels were bouncing off harmlessly. "They're learning from our attacks," reported the tactical officer, his voice tight with fear. "Each shot is less effective than the last." Meanwhile, Marcus and Shadowfang approached the massive Devourer command ship. The Warcat's biomechanical systems had reconfigured their salvage hauler to mimic a piece of space debris, complete with simulated decay patterns and radiation signatures that fooled the enemy's sensors. "Remember," Shadowfang advised as they neared the command vessel's hull. "Once we're inside, we'll be facing the collective intelligence of their entire civilization. Don't try to think like a human, think like controlled chaos." The command ship's hull was a marvel of adaptive architecture, constantly shifting and reconfiguring as it processed data from the ongoing battle. Shadowfang's saber-teeth began to glow with a frequency that resonated with the alien metal, creating a passage just large enough for their ship to slip through. Inside the Devourer vessel, Marcus felt overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the technology surrounding them. Corridors stretched in impossible directions, following geometric patterns that hurt to perceive. Crystalline nodes pulsed with data streams carrying the knowledge of countless extinct civilizations. "The Central Intelligence Core is 7 levels above us," Shadowfang reported, its quantum intuition mapping the ship's layout faster than any computer could. "But we're not alone. I detect Guardian constructs converging on our position." The Guardians were unlike any military unit Marcus had ever seen. They moved like liquid mercury formed into vaguely humanoid shapes, their bodies constantly shifting between different configurations optimized for various combat scenarios. As soon as they encountered Shadowfang, they began adapting their forms to counter the Warcat's known capabilities. But they had no data on human tactics. Marcus drew his plasma rifle and opened fire with completely random targeting patterns, switching between different power settings without any tactical logic. The Guardian's adaptive programming struggled to find patterns in his chaotic approach, giving Shadowfang the opening it needed to strike. "Brilliant," the Warcat purred as its saber-teeth carved through Guardian after Guardian. "They can't adapt to behavior that has no logical basis. Your species' capacity for controlled irrationality is remarkable." They fought their way through the ship's defenses using a combination of Shadowfang's ancient combat protocols and Marcus's human unpredictability. The Warcat would engage enemies using standard Catherian tactics until the Guardians began to adapt. Then Marcus would do something completely unexpected, throwing grenades in seemingly random directions, firing at walls instead of targets, or even singing loudly to confuse audio sensors. The Central Intelligence Core was a cathedral-sized chamber filled with floating crystal matrices that pulsed with the collected knowledge of the Devourer civilization. At its heart sat a consciousness older than human civilization, the prime intellect that coordinated all Devourer operations across the galaxy. "You are not Catherian," it communicated directly into their minds, "yet you carry Catherian technology. Interesting. Your biomechanical companion is catalogued as extinct. Please stand still while we analyze this anomaly." "Sorry," Marcus replied, pulling out a device he'd been working on during their journey. "We're not here for analysis. We're here to teach you something new." The device was Marcus's masterpiece, a quantum randomizer that generated truly chaotic data patterns based on human behavioral models. When activated within the Devourer command network, it would introduce variables that defied logical analysis. Shadowfang engaged the chamber's defensive systems while Marcus approached the central core. The prime intellect's attempts to stop him were thwarted by the Warcat's quantum intuition, which predicted and countered each defensive protocol milliseconds before it could activate. "This is impossible," the prime intellect declared as Marcus connected his device to the core matrix. "Chaos cannot exist within ordered systems. Logic will always prevail over randomness." "That's where you're wrong," Marcus said, activating the quantum randomizer. Humans don't choose between logic and chaos. We use them both at the same time. The effect was immediate and catastrophic to the Devourer fleet. Across the battle zone, perfectly coordinated ships suddenly began behaving erratically. Some vessels fired at empty space while others forgot their defensive protocols entirely. The adaptive algorithms that made them so dangerous became liabilities as they tried to process the contradictory data flooding their networks. Admiral Voss watched in amazement as the enemy fleet suddenly descended into chaos. Ships that had been adapting perfectly to Federation tactics now flew in circles, fired randomly, or simply stopped moving altogether. "All ships, press the attack," she ordered. "I don't know what's happening to them, but we need to take advantage of it now." The Federation fleet struck with everything they had, targeting the confused Devourer vessels with concentrated firepower. Ships that had seemed invincible minutes before now exploded in brilliant cascades of light as their defensive systems failed to respond coherently. But the victory came at a cost. The quantum randomizer was overloading the Devourer command ship systems, and the massive vessel began to tear itself apart as its adaptive architecture tried to reconfigure itself in thousands of contradictory ways simultaneously. "We need to leave," Shadowfang warned as the ship shuddered around them. "The cascade failure will consume this entire vessel within minutes." Marcus and Shadowfang fought their way back to their ship as the command vessel died around them. Crystalline corridors crumbled into fractal patterns while the Prime Intellect's death screams echoed through the ship's communication systems. They barely escaped before the command ship exploded in a burst of released energy that illuminated the entire system. The remaining Devourer vessels, cut off from their coordinating intelligence, fled in disarray rather than risk individual destruction. Hours later, Marcus found himself standing in Admiral Voss's ready room, trying to explain what had happened while Shadowfang waited in the ship's cargo bay. The Warcat had reluctantly agreed to remain hidden until Marcus could gauge the Federation's response to their intervention. "Let me understand this correctly," Admiral Voss said, her voice carefully controlled. "You awakened a 3,000-year-old alien war machine, infiltrated an enemy command vessel, and single-handedly turned the tide of the battle using a device that generates chaos?" "That's a fairly accurate summary," Marcus admitted, "though I had help from the most remarkable artificial intelligence I've ever encountered. The intelligence you claim is actually a surviving member of an extinct alien race." "Also accurate." Admiral Voss leaned back in her chair, studying the man who had just saved her fleet from certain destruction. Marcus Chen was officially a criminal, an exile who had defied Federation law to pursue dangerous research, but he had also just demonstrated capabilities that could change the course of the war against the Devourers. "The Federation Council is going to want to study your partner," she said carefully, "and your randomizer technology. This could be exactly what we need to finally defeat the Devourers." Marcus felt Shadowfang's concern through their neural link. The Warcat had suffered enough at the hands of bureaucrats and politicians during the Kytherian Empire's final days. Neither of them trusted governments to handle this responsibility wisely. "With respect, Admiral, I don't think that's the best approach," Marcus said. "The Devourers' greatest strength is their ability to analyze and counter organized opposition. What we need isn't a bigger fleet or better weapons, we need something they can't predict or control." "What are you proposing?" Marcus took a deep breath, knowing that his next words would determine not just his own fate, but the future of the war against the Devourers. "I'm proposing we do exactly what they least expect. Instead of trying to build a traditional military response, we create something completely new. Small teams of humans partnered with awakened Kytherian technology, operating independently and unpredictably." "You're talking about awakening more of those war machines?" "If we can find them. Shadowfang believes there are others scattered across the galaxy, waiting for the right catalyst to bring them back online. Each one represents 3,000 years of advanced technology combined with strategic knowledge that could be invaluable against the Devourers." Admiral Voss considered this proposal with the careful attention it deserved. The traditional approach, building bigger fleets and stronger weapons, had already proven ineffective against an enemy that adapted faster than any military organization could respond. But Marcus was proposing something far more radical. "The Federation Council will never approve such an operation," she said finally. "Too many unknowns, too many risks." "Then we don't tell the Federation Council," Marcus replied. "We operate outside official channels, gathering allies who understand what we're really fighting for." The Devourers won't wait for bureaucrats to make decisions. They'll keep attacking, keep learning, keep growing stronger. Through their neural link, Marcus felt Shadowfang's approval of this approach. The Warcat had no interest in becoming a museum piece or a laboratory specimen. It wanted to finish the war its people had died fighting. "You're talking about going rogue," Admiral Voss said. "About conducting unauthorized operations across the galaxy." "I'm talking about saving the galaxy," Marcus corrected. "The Devourers nearly destroyed galactic civilization once before. If we don't stop them this time, there won't be a third chance." Admiral Voss was quiet for a long moment, weighing the risks against the potential rewards. Finally, she made her decision. "I can't officially support what you're proposing," she said, "but I also can't ignore what you accomplished today. If you're serious about this mission, you'll need resources, ships, supplies, access to archaeological data about Catherian sites, and you're willing to provide those resources, unofficially, through channels that won't appear in any official reports. There are others in the fleet who share my concerns about the Devourer threat officers, who understand that extraordinary circumstances require extraordinary responses." Marcus felt hope kindling in his chest. They wouldn't be alone in this fight after all. "There's one more thing," Admiral Voss continued. "If you're going to recruit other humans for this mission, you'll need to be very careful about who you choose. The neural interface technology required for bonding with Catherian systems could be dangerous for minds that aren't properly prepared." "Shadowfang has already identified the key requirements," Marcus assured her. "We need individuals who combine technical expertise with adaptive thinking, people who can embrace chaos without losing their sanity." As Marcus prepared to leave the Federation flagship, he felt the weight of the galaxy's future settling on his shoulders. The war against the Devourers was far from over. Today's victory had simply bought them time to prepare for the real battle ahead. But for the first time since awakening Shadowfang, Marcus felt genuine optimism about their chances. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its refusal to accept defeat. Combined with an almost supernatural ability to find unexpected solutions to impossible problems, partnered with Catherian technology and ancient wisdom, that strength could indeed prove unstoppable. Through their neural link, Shadowfang shared that optimism. The Warcat had waited 3,000 years for this moment, not just for awakening, but for finding allies worthy of the Catherian legacy. Together, they would gather others like themselves, building a force that the Devourers could never predict or counter. The galaxy was vast, filled with hidden wonders and sleeping guardians waiting to be awakened. Marcus and Shadowfang would find them all, one by one, forging an alliance between species separated by millennia, but united by a common determination to protect everything they held dear. The real war was just beginning. But for the first time in 3,000 years, the Devourers faced something they had never encountered before, an enemy that grew stronger through chaos rather than order, unpredictable rather than logical, and absolutely, utterly human in its refusal to surrender. Everything had indeed changed, and the galaxy would never be the same.